Hello and welcome back to screenblue.com.
Now we know what JUnit test is. Now let's go into IntelliJ in here. And in here, I'm actually going to create a package in here. Okay? And I'm going to name this package called JUnit. So in here, I'm actually going to create a class here first called addition. So basically, in here, I'm actually going to create a default method, right? So now I'm going to actually create a method here, int, and it's going to be called add, and it takes two numbers, int b, and in here it's going to actually return a plus b, right? The sum of two integers, a and b. All right. So now I got this addition method here, which is inside this addition class. So now basically, once you have this class, right? So I'm going to have to create a new class in here. So I'm going to call it JUnit test. So in here, what I'm actually going to create is a test method, right? So I'm going to call it test_add. In here, what I'm actually going to do is create an object from the addition class. So I'm going to call it app1 equal new addition. The way you can declare this method as test is using this appendation called test. So as soon as you do test, right, it's saying to import this org.junit.test, right? So what you can do is do import in here org.junit_test. Oops, you can do test in there. So once you do that, right, so I'm importing the package test. Now it's all good. So here, what I actually need to do is make sure that this 10 equals to app1.add. Okay, I'm going to do 55 in here. So basically what I'm actually doing here is I'm adding these two numbers and making sure it's equal to 10. So my expected number here is 10, and I'm trying to add 5 and 5 in here, right? So I'm using this assert equals, right? So now IntelliJ could not find the method in here, so I need to import the package. So now if I click in here, right, it's IntelliJ is pretty smart to tell me what I need to do. It says that you can import this org.junit.assert.equals, right? So I can actually, instead of typing import.org.junit and all that, there's a shortcut to this. So all you need to do is do Alt and Enter. Okay, then it gives you like import static method or create assert equals. So I'm actually going to import it. So hit import. Then it has other different options. So I'm just going to use the first one. Now it's good. So as you can see, it automatically wrote this line for me because I'm actually importing it assert equals using the IntelliJ shortcuts. Okay. So now I have here assert equals means this two should be equal 10, 5, and 5. Now if I run this, as you can see here, it gave me test_add equal passed. So after I run this test, right, as you can see here, the test passed. As you can see, it's all green, right? So now I'm going to add here and show you what it looks like when it fails. So let's make it like 50 in here, and in here I'm going to do 45, and let's say 4. Okay, and if I run this, you can see here, right? This failed because it has this red color in here and it says one test failed. So I've got two tests, right? So this one passed and this one is failing. I know that because here my expected is 50, but actually it's 49. So 45 plus 44, 49, right? So it's giving an assertion error, right? It's failed it. And I can know where I can find it is reading this error in here. It says assertion error and the expected is 50 and actually is 49 and it's failed not equals. And it's failing under the JUnit test Java 15. So if you click on that, it will take you which line it failed. So it failed into this line. That's how you can actually test your method here, right? So I created an add method here, and I'm trying to do different scenarios. And this scenario is passed, and this is failing because I've got the incorrect number in here, right? So I can also do assert not equals. So in here, I'm actually going to do, let's say, 500. And here, I'm actually going to do 250. And let's say 249. Okay, and in here, as again, like it's saying that I need to import the package, so I'm going to do a shortcut, Alt, Enter. Okay, so should I do that? I've also added this line here. So now I'm actually going to fix this, and now all should pass because 45 plus 5 is 50, 5 plus 5 10, 250 plus 249 is equal to 499. It's not equal to 500. And it works because I'm actually doing not equals instead of equals. So that's how you can actually create a JUnit test now. So now the other thing we learned about is how you can actually create before and after, right? So here I'm actually going to do void before test and I'm actually going to do system.out.println. So here I'm going to say running before test. So I copy this, and in here I'm actually going to do after. So in here I'm actually going to do after, and in here I'm actually going to do after test. So now it's also saying that I need to import this package. I'm going to do Alt and Enter. Okay. Also it added this arc.JUnit after. So now if I run this, it's going to run before test, and this one right here, and it's going to say after test. You can see anything here because I don't have any print command in here, so I'm actually going to do here running addition test. Okay, so I'm going to run this again. Alright, so it says here running before test, running addition test, and running after test. So now let's say I'm going to create another test in here called test add 2. So let's add a negative number in here. So let's say -5 and -5. Let's say -500. Okay, I'm just going to delete this. In here, I'm actually going to do not equals, so -5, and I'm going to say -255 and -45. So let's say 35. Okay, so I'm going to say running addition test for negative numbers. Okay, so I got test add 1. So it's actually going to do here positive numbers. Okay, so whenever you write tests, make sure it's very descriptive so other people would know what you're actually testing. So negative numbers. So now I got two tests: positive numbers, negative numbers. So this is actually for positive numbers, and this test is actually for negative numbers, right? So now let's run this on again. And now you can see here, right? It says running before test. So this method was called first. Then it says running addition test for positive numbers. So because you tried to run this one, this test is before this. So you run at this, and it says running after test, right? So this is before test and after test. So it ran this one here. And now again, I'm trying to run this one. So it ran this one first. So it says running before test. And now it's running this one here, running addition test for negative numbers and running after test. So this before test was run twice because I have two tests. And after test was also run twice because I have two tests here. So now the next one is before class and after class. So I'm actually going to copy this. So in here, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to change this, okay, to before class. And here I'm actually going to change also before class. And here also I'm going to do after class. And here I'm actually going to do after class. And here, right, it's saying that now I need to import that package too. I'm going to do Alt Enter, and it added before class. Okay, same thing in here. Alt Enter. So it did after class in here. So I'm going to change this to run before class and run after class. So now let's run this. I'm actually going to run it. Oops. And it says here that running before class should be static. Yep. That's because this is a class method, so I need to make it static. See, that's the other thing that we need to remember. When you actually create after class and before class method, the static method, you need to also provide a static, right? Static is like the class method. All right, so now let's run it again. And now you can see here, right? It says running before class, right? This one. And it ran addition test for positive numbers, then again running addition test for negative numbers, right? And running after class, right? So this run before class only ran once, and this after class ran only once. So now your next question would be, what will be the scenario, right? Here the scenario could be like to actually create a file in here, right? Or make sure your file is there, right? You can have the code in there. Then you run your test, and after class would be destroy the file. Right? Same thing with the database, right? Connect to the database could be here. And after you do other tests, you can also close the database, right? Disconnect the database, right? That could be your on-command scenario. So that is actually before and after class. So now we ran each test, right? So now next thing we learn is how we can actually create a test suite. So I'm actually going to create a new class in here, and I'm going to call it JUnit test suite. So after I create a test unit suite, right? So since I tried to run it as a suite, you have to actually follow the syntax. So I'm actually going to call it run with. Okay, so I have to create actually a JUnit runner. So I'm actually going to do run with, and I'm actually going to use this suite.class. So you don't actually have to remember it. You can find it online. Okay, that's how you can actually run all your tests. And in here, I'm actually going to do sweet classes. That in here, I will provide all your tests, all tests that you want to run. That's it, right? So you do run with sweet.class, and you provide sweet classes, and you're going to provide all the test classes in here. Okay, so I created JUnit test, so I'm going to do JUnit test.class, class, right? So now if I run this, it's just going to run this JUnit test. So see here, it says running before test and notice after test. So this ran this class in here, right? I want to run this one too, so you can just do comma in here and do JUnit test before after class. Okay, so this is the runner method here, and you just run it. So in here it's empty because that's how the syntax is, right? So in here you're going to provide all the tests in here that you want it to run. That's the syntax of test suite, and you actually can copy this because I don't also remember this syntax. Okay, so you basically just remember that you write in here inside this suite classes, you're going to provide all the classes, test classes in here, and this is the syntax: run with suite.class and suite.suite classes. Okay, so that's the syntax of a JUnit test suite. So now you can have like thousands or millions of tests in here, and all you need to do is run this class in here. Just right click and run it, and you run it thousands of tests. Instead of going each test and run manually, you just run this suite and it will run all your tests. All right, so that's pretty much it for this lecture. Okay, I hope you guys learned about what JUnit test is and how you can create a JUnit test using @test annotations. You also learn about the before and after test. You also learn about creating a before and after static class methods. And we also learn about how you can actually create a suite and provide all the tests that you want it to run. Okay, so that's it for this lecture. I will see you guys in our next lecture.